Hello everyone, my name is Mike, and this is a stick-up. And it's also the Bored Cyborg. Welcome back to yet another episode. Today I'm talking about crime films, in particular, heist films. I go deep when it comes to subgenres.
I'm going deep.
I've not talked too much about heist films on the channel, but it's a subgenre that I really love and have loved since I was a kid, really since I was a teenager, early teens. I started watching stuff like this when I was probably 13 or 14 and really fell in love with it. So I've got a stack here of some underrated or lesser talked about heist films. I'm not going to be talking about the Ocean's 11 or Dog Day Afternoon or The Italian Job, some big ones. I'm going to be talking about some lesser known ones. You guys know me. So I've got a nice little stack here, some cool films that I really enjoy. A couple I haven't seen in a long time, but I still recommend. Let's jump right in. I'd love to know what your favorite heist film is from any decade, any era, any genre. Of course, there are like comedy heist films and more dramatic heist films, action heist films. So feel free to let me know what your favorite is down in the comments below, and we'll get a little discussion reload. Alright, so first up is maybe a bit of a stretch. I'm already stretching it with the first one, but there is a heist in the film, and the heist is integral to the plot of the story. Even though it's only like a 5-10 minute heist, and then the rest of the movie is sort of a comedy of errors. But I had to get a heist comedy in here. That is Quick Change. What an underrated Bill Murray movie this is. Gina Davis, Bill Murray, Randy Quaid, great chemistry. 1990 this film came out. Who directed this one? I'm not exactly sure. Wow! Who knew? I did not know. Howard Franklin. You guys all know him. No, I don't know who Howard Franklin is, but I'm sure he's great. And Bill Murray helped direct this. He also helped produce it. He did not write it. So he must have really liked the script and put some money up and offered to help direct it and star in it. So how this movie is not talked about more is beyond me, for all the crazy, mimetic Bill Murray ideas and stories and theories and whatever. Bill Murray is an awesome actor, and he is awesome in this. So it starts out, as you can see on the back, he's in a clown costume on the back. And what that's all about is he robs a bank. He sort of somehow pulls off like the perfect bank robbery in this clown costume. And the rest of the film is really a comedy of errors of them trying to get out of New York City with the money and make it out clean. It's a great ride. It's one of those movies that when you think things are great for them, they've got to clear out. The writing is just so clever with pulling them back into the city and not letting them leave. It's a great one, guys. Check this out if you're a fan of Bill Murray, if you're a fan of 90s comedies. I mean, this is just underrated. And honestly, that poster right there, I don't know if it was the original theatrical poster. I'll probably put that here. But Quick Change has the greatest artwork. Not the greatest artwork. I'll say has artwork that really explains the film well. It's just chaos. Just chaotic. It's a comedy of errors, like I've said 14 times. I'm going to stop talking. I'm rambling. Quick Change is awesome. Next up is a Steven Soderbergh film that not many people talk about. Again, obviously, I'm bringing all these up because not many people talk about them. And when this came out, it was a pretty big movie for the time, I do remember. And I saw it shortly thereafter. What did it come out in? Yeah, 98. Okay, wow, it's earlier than I thought. 98, and I probably saw it around 2001 or 2. That is Out of Sight. Now, this is one of J-Lo's best movies, in my opinion. I think she's really good in this, working off of George Clooney. It's really about the two of them. George Clooney is a career criminal, and he gets out of jail and falls in love with Jennifer Lopez's character. And he gets pulled back into the crime world, of course, and he's looking to pull off one big heist. I'm not going to go too deep into the plot, because it is pretty intricate. And the problem is, J-Lo, he's starting to fall in love with Jennifer Lopez's character, and she's a FBI agent, or a federal agent of some sort. I forget exactly what. So that creates an interesting dynamic, of course. And it's got a great supporting cast. I know Don Cheadle's in this. It doesn't say many other names here, but oh yeah, Ving Rhames, Dennis Farina, Albert Brooks. So a great supporting cast, great cast overall. Steven Soderbergh always gets a great cast around his ideas. This is one of his better films in my opinion. Steven Soderbergh is amazing in terms of his diversity. He could do any kind of film and pull it off relatively well. But he's hit or miss in that sense. Or no, he's hit or miss for that reason, because he's always taken risks. And so I may not love every film that he releases, but I still appreciate his vision and appreciate his motivation to just creating anything that strikes his fancy. That is awesome. And this is his Heist, his smooth, sleek heist film that's not Ocean's 11, 12, or 13. So check this out. If you like those movies, especially if you like Steven Soderbergh, this one is slick and really cool. Great movie. Out of Sight. Next up is a film that I think is so damn cool. And I gotta admit, I haven't seen this in probably 5 or 6 years. I've seen it probably twice since I was a teenager. This film came out in 94, but I didn't see it until, again, like 01 or 02 when I was 12, 13, 14 years old. That is Killing Zoe. Now, Killing Zoe is really cool. What led me to this film, obviously around that time, 12, 13, 14 years old, I discovered Tarantino. And, well, not discovered him, but started watching his movies. I remember all the hype in the 90s with Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs, but I wasn't old enough to watch the films. 13 years old, I watched Pulp Fiction. And, of course, IMDb and I were very tight back in the day. I use Letterboxd more now. But I would go on to IMDb and just research these films, look up all the trivia and people's interpretations and yada yada. I saw that a writer from Pulp Fiction that helped write some of the segments with Quentin Tarantino, Roger Avery, had directed his own film the same year. That is 1994. That is Killing Zoe. So Tarantino had Pulp Fiction, and Roger Avery directed his own film and wrote it. Killing Zoe is a heist film. It's a super sleek, almost cyberpunk. I know that sounds weird because it's not in the future, but it has that sort of neo-noir, cyberpunk, dark, gritty feel to it. And it's a heist film that takes place in Paris, I believe. Eric Stoltz is in this from Pulp Fiction and from many, many other movies. Mask, probably most famously. But he played the drug dealer in Travolta's drug dealer in Pulp Fiction, and he comes back as a supporting role here. Now, I always forget her name. Julie Delpy. Julie Delpy, French actress. Jean-Hughes Anglade is one of the other lead roles. Eric Stoltz is not a supporting character. He's a lead role. So I had to get those names right because they're French actors there. And yeah, so this one, Eric Stoltz's buddy in France calls him out to France to do this heist. And things don't go very well. It's really cool in that sense because things just don't go according to plan, or did they even really have a great plan to begin with? The story unfolds as it goes along, but what ends up happening to one of the characters is not Eric Stoltz's character. He just starts going nuts. Like, he starts going crazy. And so Eric Stoltz is trying to reel him in. And this dude's like snorting coke, if I can remember right. Just like doing all these drugs during the heist. And things are just spiraling out of their control. And it's a really cool movie. It's got this shot. Oh, this shot is so cool. And I'd have to watch it again to know exactly what's going on in the shot. But it's the shot that always, it's such a perfect, I don't know what it is about it. It's enigmatic, but it's also, you don't know what's going on. It's a little cyberpunk. He's got his hand, I think he has a flare or something up on the ceiling. I forget what it is, but I have to rewatch it. This movie has really cool lighting and color temperatures, I guess. It goes from like these dark reds to blues to grays. It's all over the place in terms of its color, but it's well lit. I really enjoyed this movie when I watched it as a kid, and even more so when I watched it 5 or 6 years ago. I'm hoping it still holds up. That is Killing Zoe. Next up is a film from 2016 that really, really surprised me and made me a fan of this writer's work. I believe he also directed this. We'll find out in a sec. But that is Hell or High Water. Talk about neo-western crime films. Man, what is his name? Taylor Sheridan does those really, really well. I believe he also wrote Did he write Wind River? I'm pretty sure he wrote Wind River. Taylor Sheridan did. Again, a neo-western. That one took place in the northern U.S., northwest U.S., I want to say. That was a fantastic film. it's one that really stuck with me. I forget its setting, but its story, the way its story unfolds, it really stuck with me. Taylor Sheridan also wrote Hell or High Water. Gritty, grimy, dirty, seething heist film that follows Chris Pine and Ben Foster as sort of the good robber, bad robber kind of thing going on. They're two brothers whose family is going to be losing their land to the bank because they can't pay it. They're getting screwed. It's all laid out in the movie, obviously, but it puts these two over the edge. And like I said, Chris Pine is really the reserved one who isn't really cut out for this life of crime, or maybe he is. Ben Foster is sort of the firecracker. You know, he's trigger happy, and it really puts Chris Pine's character into a lot of difficult situations because his brother's out of control at points. And it's awesome. Guys, this has some scenes that will arrest you. I mean, they will just like freeze you up like, oh shit! You know what I'm talking about if you've seen this movie. It's also one of those movies where over the last like 5-6 years, we've had these movies like Cell Block 99 that play like video games. Like they ramp up in terms of heists. So the heists get more complex, get more interesting. Just like in Cell Block 99, things get more interesting. This really keeps you engaged, and there's just one scene in this, I can't say what it is, but my hair is standing up. Look at that. Check this out. The chemistry between the two brothers is just fantastic. It's really the reason to see this film. But Jeff Bridges is also in this over here. Jeff Bridges has a great role, you know, kind of doing the Jeff Bridges thing. Oh, I'm an old cop and I'm going to take care of my business. Jeff Bridges. He just kind of mumbles through his roles these days. But he's always great. So that is Hell or High Water. You guys have to check this one out. It is fantastic. Next up is such an underrated movie. This is like one of the most underrated action crime films of the 90s, in my opinion. Honestly, I strongly feel that way. And I only saw this film for the first time around 6 months ago. Maybe, no, it felt like a long year. Probably over a year ago now. That is Set It Off. F***ing Set It Off. So, this is definitely a hip-hop inspired heist film. And I'm a big hip-hop head myself. Set It Off is directed by F. Gary Gray from 96, I want to say, and has a great cast: Vivica A. Fox, Queen Latifah, forgive me, I gotta look, Jada Pinkett, and Kimberly Elise, who are all fantastic. They star as your 4 lead characters. Now, the obvious thing that makes this film different is that it's a female heist movie. That initially got me interested, and it's pulled off really damn well. And they're all from the hood. They're all black women from the hood. So this is just a very unique heist film. And they're all having money problems in their own different ways. They all grew up together. They're all very tight. And one dude from their block or whatever robs a bank, and they are sort of inspired by that. And so they're like, well, if he could do it, you know, we could do that. So they have no idea what they're doing, but they start learning, you know, and each has their role. Kimberly Elise is sort of the young, sort of inexperienced one. Vivica A. Fox is kind of the leader-ish kind of thing, or she's trying to be. Jada Pinkett Smith is sort of in the same kind of role, in a way. And then Queen Latifah is, again, your sort of firecracker, your hotshot, your trigger-happy one. And she pulls it off excellently. She is awesome in this movie. And so, yeah, that's what the film is about in a nutshell. But, you know, the set pieces ramp up as it goes along. Obviously, there are a couple heists pulled off in this film. I want to say 3. And the final heist is fantastic. I mean, it got a tear rolling down my cheek because it just hits you hard. And these women, as time goes on, you start to realize that they have different motives, different motivations. The money is affecting them in all different ways, and it's tearing them apart. So it's got a lot going on, man. This is fantastic. This is the extended director's cut here. Let's see, 124 minutes, so that it clocks in at here. So Set It Off is fantastic. I want to say this is hard to find now, this Blu-ray. It's out of print, so if you see it, definitely pick it up. But pick it up for the DVD. It's a fantastic heist film. Set It Off is awesome. Might be my favorite of all the ones I've talked about so far. I want to give this one a mention. Now, this film isn't great, but it's really interesting, and there's some history here I wanted to hit you guys with. So, LA Takedown. I haven't seen this in ages, but when I learned of this, I was probably in my early 20s or something like that. And I had no idea this existed. And you guys probably have no idea what this is. This is LA Takedown. This is a TV movie directed and written by Michael Mann, who a few years later would get the money from Hollywood to make Heat. Now, LA Takedown is the same story. It's essentially the same story. Isn't that crazy? Now, instead of Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, of course, you have, of course, the guys' names aren't on here. Scott Plank and Michael Rooker. Not Michael Rooker, Michael Rooker. And, yeah, it's essentially the same plot. In fact, some of the scenes are he lifted from this. Now, lifted is a strong word. It's his movie, so he could rip it off if he wants. But, you know, the scene right there with the two cops across from each other, yeah. That's the same scene from Heat. I watched it after Heat, of course, which is one of my this is my favorite heist film of all time, by the way. This is one of my favorite films of all time. I will talk about this in depth one day and how incredible that is, but this is not what this video is about. It's about, everybody knows what this film. Nobody knows what this movie is. So, you guys got to check out LA Takedown just for its history, just for what it is. I wish it had a date on it. The DVD was 2000. I don't know. I want to say 91 or 2 or 90. And then Heat was 95. So, really interesting in terms of a historical stuff. And not a bad movie. Honestly, if Heat never existed, I think, no, people wouldn't be talking about LA Takedown. But they'd think LA Takedown was a pretty solid TV movie. TV heist movie. So check out LA Takedown. And if you haven't, definitely check out Heat. And last, but certainly not least, we have a New York film through and through, a film that I love. This is my favorite on this list, not including Heat. The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. I have talked about this film before, so I won't go too in depth, but I'm going to talk about it a little bit. It's a Kino Lorber release. This is from 1974. Joseph Sargent, a great 70s genre director. This has an incredible cast with, Walter Matthau. It's got Robert Shaw, who is the villain. So Walter Matthau is our hero. Robert Shaw is our main villain. He's surrounded by a bunch of heisters. Hector Elizondo, a young Hector Elizondo. Who am I forgetting? Martin Balsam. That's right, Martin Balsam plays the sneezy one with a cold. And so these guys attempt to rob the Pelham 123. So the Pelham 123 is a train in the Metro subway in New York, and they lock it down. It's in the they stop it, they get into it, they lock it down, and it's in the middle of this tunnel, and they've got all these hostages. They're in the middle of nowhere. Nobody could really get to them. It's kind of brilliant, because if cops came from either side, they could just have machine gunners on either side taking care of the cops, like fish in a barrel. So it's a cool setup. This was remade, by the way, by Tony Scott, with John Travolta and Denzel. Nah, watch this. This is where it's at. Not a terrible film, but this is where it's at. And so they take this this subway car. They disconnect it from the train, actually, and it's a siege. It's a hostage situation where they're trying. It's a ransom. They're trying to get some money. Obviously, it's a heist. So, what's cool about this? One thing that's cool about this, a little trivia, is all the characters are named after colors. So Mr. Blue, Mr. Yellow, I forget which ones are there. I'm naming all the ones from Reservoir Dogs, but Tarantino is a big fan of this and was inspired to use those names in this movie. So that's where that comes from. All the characters are very unique. All the supporting characters, they all, again, have different motives, things like that. And I can't really say too much about some of the clever plot devices here. But Walter Matthau is a man on a mission who notices something fishy's going on, and he digs deeper into it. And he ain't having no shit in his city on his trains. And he's communicating with Robert Shaw's character. It's just fascinating. Heavy in dialogue, light in action, but what is there is fantastic. What I mean by action is just gunfights, things like that. A lot of things are always happening. They get the city council involved, of course, like the mayor and things like that, which is hilarious. It's just a New York movie. I absolutely love this movie. Taking of Pelham 123 is one of the most underrated heist films of all time. Maybe it's not underrated. Maybe people do talk about this. Let me know if people do, but I think it's underrated, or at least less talked about, and I wanted to bring all of these movies to you, especially this one, to encourage you to check these out if you like action, heist, crime films. So, that is Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. That's going to do it for this underrated heist film video. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I love heist movies, and I hope you guys too. And if you don't, maybe I talked to you guys or convinced you into checking some of these out. I'd love to know what your favorite heist film of all time is, so feel free to leave that down in the comments below. We'll get a little discussion. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel and want to see more videos like it, go ahead and hit the subscribe button as well as the little bell for notifications. I was a little off on that, but that's okay. I also have a Patreon and t-shirts. Links are in the description below. Anyway, guys, I will see you all next time. Bored Cyborg is out. Cream, get the money. Dollar bill, y'all.